good morning, good afternoon, welcome wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Stop, because I have three awesome ripple makers from around the world here to inspire you, to activate you, and make this next 30 days of your business growth strategy the most impactful that it could be. Now, if you've been with me since RippleFest 1, we are celebrating today. This is our 24th RippleFest. I actually have one of our original change makers here backstage. I'm going to get you on screen, Carol, because you're a veteran. Carol, wave hello. I don't know if anyone can see you. You'll have to unmute yourself just so that it goes to your screen. But come and say hello, Carol.
I'm so glad to be here. This has been a marvelous process.
And you've been with us since RippleFest 1.
That is true. That is absolutely correct.
When I didn't have a clue what it was, and neither did you, but you joined anyway.
I had confidence in you. That's
you.
all it took.
Oh, Carol, thank you so much. Well, guys and girls, it has been a journey. It has been a journey of making ripples, creating waves, some of them tiny waves, some of them massive waves. And we've been celebrating each and every ripple that we've made in between. So what is RippleFest? RippleFest is 3 hours of power, designed to give you that inspiration and all those little tips and nuggets over 3 days. So it's an hour of power today, tomorrow, and Thursday, supporting you so that you can just take that little hour of power out of your business and work on your business rather than in it, helping you to move yourself forward. So we have an amazing lineup of RippleFest for this month. I can't believe that we're in August already at the point of recording this. So I'm going to go fast. I'm going to share with you who we've got over this next 3 days so that you can put that alarm on your calendar, set that alarm, make sure it goes off, grab yourself a cup of tea and come and join us. So today we've got the amazing Ruth Driscoll, who's kicking us off today with an incredible session on how to stop sabotaging your success. How many of you know that you've been sabotaging yourself a little bit? Give me sabotage in the comments there if you've been sabotaging yourself, or you know that you've been minimizing yourself that little bit. Let us know in the comments. Ruth's going to help us with that. She's our first speaker. She's backstage right now. Can't wait to get her on. We're going to follow Ruth with Deenita Pattni. She is going to take us from perfection to prolific. How many of you are those perfectionists? Give me a perfectionist in the comments if you know there's a little bit of part of you, or even a big part of you, that is using perfection as a way of stopping you from launching. Well, Dee is going to help us with that. She's got a session with us on how to turn your inner critic into your loudest cheerleader, and we're going to follow up with from Deenita with the amazing Siobhan Riordan, who's going to harness the power of your groups. So look out. Get your journal ready. We're going to dive into our first session today, and you'll be able to see all the promos and things of who's speaking. If you go to the One Drop Movement group at this moment in time, if you go to the header image at the top of the group, you'll see all of our speakers for all 3 days. So without further ado, how many of you are excited? How many of you are excited? Give me a hashtag excited. Give me a hashtag drum roll, because we are about to bring one of my closest friends, she's just so dear, one of my longest brand building clients. We've traveled the world together. She's been on one of my brand building cruises. She's been to France, my home in France. We've done loads and loads of stuff together to build her brand, and I couldn't be more proud that Ruth is kicking off this whole RippleFest. So ladies and gentlemen, give us a big rapturous round of applause for the amazing, the one and only life liberator, Miss Ruth Driscoll. Ruth Driscoll. I'll put my teeth in. Ruth Driscoll. There you go. Ruth, welcome to RippleFest, my darling.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me along, Sammy. It's always such a pleasure to spend any time with you.
Oh, likewise. And we go back so far. And I mean, I remember watching your story, watching you stand on stage sharing your story, and I remember I was leant against the wall watching you on stage, and you were talking about the remote control, and maybe we'll get to that in this session. You were talking about the remote control, and I was in a very emotionally abusive relationship at that time. And I remember you saying the classic words that you say. I'm not going to give it away just in case you're going to share it today, but you said these words, and it just, you know, when something goes through your whole body, it's like it impacts on your whole nervous system. And those words you spoke from stage, they were liberating enough for me to walk away from that relationship, and it was the best move that I made. So Ruth, for those that don't know you, please share with us what you do and who you are.
Okay, well, I'm Ruth Driscoll, and my business is the Life Liberator, and I have to thank you, Sammy, for that name, which means that what I do is to lead those who are either in or have been in manipulative, controlling, abusive relationships, leading them into empowerment and freedom. And we do that through a process that I call elegant assertiveness. So it's knowing how to be able to speak your truth, to be able to safely stay congruent with who you are, and give that message to that person who is trying to control your life that you are just not going to be pushed around anymore.
Yeah, and my gosh, there's such a need for the work that you're doing.
Sadly, yes.
Yes, sadly, like you say. And I think through lockdown that actually impacted a whole lot worse, didn't it? Did you end up with more situations through lockdown?
Well, the situations that I ended up with in lockdown were more about supporting people to look out for those who may be trapped inside you know, a manipulative and even abusive relationship. It was the signs to look out for, because obviously people who were themselves actually trapped had limited means of you know, accessing any kind of support. There were a few cases where I knew somebody was in a potentially worrying situation, and it was looking at where we could put a support mechanism in place to have a lifeline that they could get out quick if they needed to, because it is that helplessness sometimes, especially if it's in a, you know, a physically abusive relationship, just not knowing how you're going to get out and where you're going to go. But I also deal with people who are going through divorce, perhaps from a very difficult person. And when you're any situation where you're dealing with somebody whose behavior is toxic, somebody who seems to consistently make you feel bad about who you are. And the trouble is that when you're in that kind of a relationship, it's almost like you're in the worst place to be able to do something about it yourself, because you've been so eroded. Your whole self-confidence, your self-esteem, even your sense of who you are. You just, you know, it's like you're living your life inside a washing machine drum, and you don't even know which way's up anymore.
Yeah.
So it's very bewildering, very confusing, and quite frightening also.
Yeah, and also it's as frightening for us to be on the outside of it and not knowing what to do, as it is to be in it and not know what to do. But Ruth, you found ways. I love that you created the cupcake club so that it was like a you know, a way of disguising it, just in case women did need to get that help. Because with the brand you're building and the movement you're making, it's not such a one where people can kind of put their hand up and go, yay, I'm going to run to the back of the room. It's not that kind of business, is it? So how have you got around that? Because there will be other ripple makers here who have that discreet type business that also need to do something like that. How did you, I remember us brainstorming this when we were on the cruise in Mexico.
Yes. Well, I mean, really, it is a case of thank goodness for online ways of reaching people, because there you can sort of, you know, you can put messages out where you can really target that, and they're a, you know, they're a hidden audience, so it's not like even there's one special place you could go to find people. But so I know one of the things that you taught me, Sammy, was the importance of that visibility. So the more that people see you, the more that people hear. I mean, even like, you know, being here with you. It's just, you know, another way of just getting that message out there, that people know there is something that they can do. And the same, you know, I take as many opportunities as I can to be on stage and share my story and part of the message of the journey out from this. Because again, you know, people on the day and in the room, they may not reach out, but later on, they do, you know, you'll get a little email, you know, to say, oh, you know, saw you on stage and is it, you know, I need to talk to you. So it's finding those sort of subtle ways in which you can get that message out there are really important. Yeah, and, you know, doing as much of that as you can, which is what I'm working on doing.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point that you just mentioned there, Ruth, because I think so often when we're building a brand, we you know, and there is a time for likes and comments and shares, absolutely. We've got the amazing brand amplifier backstage who's coming on next, but you know, when you're building that brand, sometimes we can take so much notice of the likes and comments that we feel you know, sad that not enough people are getting involved, but that doesn't mean they're not seeing you, does it? So we have to have that voice and forget about the likes and shares for a moment and say, do you know what, I'm going to stand up anyway. I'm going to get my message out there anyway. I'm going to speak as often as I can anyway, because there might be someone that just happens to see it. They don't comment, but they send you that message privately and say, I need some help. So I think that's a really important message you've got there. Ruth, we're motoring on for time here. I know you've got an activity that you'd like to do with our ripple makers today, because conflict isn't just in relationships, it's also at work, it's in business. There's so many places that this happens to us and we can really sabotage ourselves. So Ruth, what do you want to do with us today?
Well, this was really, you know, because I myself was in an abusive relationship, which is obviously part of the story I tell. One of the important lessons that I discovered was, it's a crucial part of my story as well, where I just had that realization that when somebody says to me, Ruth, I need help, I just say, oh, yes, of course. And then I'm sort of backtracking, thinking, OK, how the heck can I do this? And I was in a really potentially compromising situation with my abusive partner at that time. And it hit me almost like, you know, a great big punch in the stomach. Oh, my God, the problem is not him, that my battle actually is not him. The battle's with me. And so I had to sort of, you know, when I was on my journey of recovering from this, because I became very ill after it, and discovering, well, what is it about me? What made me so vulnerable to those toxic messages, the negativity about myself that I sort of took on? And I realized that, you know, a big component of this is self-sabotage. And so I do a little exercise with clients to kind of highlight this. So, you know, if you've got a paper and pen, it's thinking about what are your qualities? Because, you know, so often people who are in these kind of relationships, they've actually got some really strong, compassionate qualities, which is, you know, what makes that person sort of, you know, gravitate towards them. So it's just now writing a few very simple sentences about your qualities. Like, for example, you might say, I am kind.
So let's get these in the comments, guys and girls, actually. You know, we can journal more later, because I'd love to see what those comments are. So,
so just very simple sentence. I am supportive. I am generous. I am loyal. I am forgiving. So it's, you know, comments like that, just making those very simple sentences about the qualities that you know that you have, that you possess. So that when you look at that list, you think to yourself, you know what, I should be valued and cherished for being a person with these qualities, which indeed you should. But now we're going to do one little thing that's just going to change entirely what's going on inside that sentence. You're going to add in the word to, T-O-O.
Oh, that just went right through me.
I am too kind.
Wow. Fuck.
I am too loyal. I am too generous.
Wow.
I'm too forgiving. Because it's there inside that tiny little word that you potentially sabotage yourself. I call this too syndrome. Because I know I suffered very badly from too syndrome.
Yeah.
And the whole point is that what you don't want is to lose those amazing qualities that you have. But you've got to recognize where you're suffering from too syndrome, and therefore become a wiser version of who you are, so that yes, there are those people that you'll want to still be too kind to, perhaps, like the children, the grandchildren, but it's always being cautious that you are not then allowing those who would use you for those very qualities of kindness, supportiveness, generosity, to feed themselves, as opposed to being there to give back to you and be kind and supportive and generous in return.
My goodness, Ruth, that's such a powerful exercise, and one that we need to be aware of, because then we can set those graceful boundaries. We don't have to set up brick walls. We don't have to pour lots of layers over like that Russian doll. We don't have to do that.
No, exactly.
What we do is that graceful assertiveness, which is what you teach. Well, Ruth, we're coming up to the end of this session. I want to dive in more. I'm gonna have to get you back, but what can we do to reach out to you if anybody has heard something that they think, I'd love to collaborate with you, I'd love to connect with you, I'd love your help? How can they reach out to you, Ruth?
Yeah, well, it would be wonderful to hear from anyone, especially if you need to just have a little clarity call, a complimentary clarity call, to just talk through what you're going through. And then we can talk about, what support you might be able to need. So email me. It's ruth@thelifeliberator.org. It's a .org.
Okay.
Rather than a .com, a .org.
Yeah. Perfect.
Ruth@thelifeliberator.org.
Brilliant. Can somebody type that into the comments for us, please, so that I can continue focusing here? So Ruth@thelifeliberator.org.
That's it. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Ruth, I love you so much. Like, we've been on such a journey together, and my goodness, I've watched you flourish. I now watch you coaching, mentoring, and growing others using the very gifts that you've gone through hell and high water to gain the wisdom that you have, and now you're able to support others. Is there anything that you'd like to leave our Ripple makers with tonight before we move on?
Well, just to say that I think that, the greatest value that you can always have is your integrity, and your superpower is the ability to be able to stay calm. Calmness is a superpower. And I know, Sammy, you've taught me so much about the brand values of your business as well. And I absolutely cherish the lessons that I learned from you there, because that, underpins everything that I do as the Life Liberator.
Oh, well, Ruth, thank you so much for dropping in with us at One Drop for the RippleFest this month, and I look forward to getting you back on to a future session. Probably not a RippleFest for a while, because you're on this RippleFest, but I think what would be great is to have you share your story into the One Drop movement group, because it goes through me every time. I remember when we were on the beach in Mexico somewhere, and right. Bob Doyle from The Secret was there with his girlfriend, and I said, Ruth, show him your story, tell him your story. And you actually told the story as if you were on stage, but you were sat in your chair, and Bob's there like on the edge of his seat, and we were crying, we were laughing. Your story is so magical. I want to get you back to share the story. Guys and girls, if you want to hear Ruth's story, give us a Ruth in the comments. I'm pretty sure it's going to be full of those as we go through. Ruth, thank you so much. I love you. If you're going to stick around, I'd love you to stay backstage, and we're going to get our next speaker on. So Ruth, thank you so much. Give it up for Ruth.
Thank you so much, Sammy.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So guys and girls, we're going to move on. This is RippleFest. We are creating a festival of ripples, and we're getting out there, creating that motion, making those ripples and creating those waves. Let's get our next phenomenal speaker, another dear friend of mine. In fact, Ruth and Deenita and I, we go way back from the same community. Ruth and both Deenita and Ruth were actually my coaches in public speaking when I first started out in 2011, going on this global stage. My goodness, they've watched me fly. I've watched them fly. So let's get the amazing Deenita Pattni up on the screen. She has been known up until now as the LinkedIn queen, but she is going through an expansion of her brand to become a greater brand amplifier. Guys and girls, give it up for the amazing Deenita Pattni. Whoop, whoop.
Oh, thank you so much. And it was lovely to hear Ruth, as always. And I loved that whole too generous, too loyal, to everything.
I know, right? I've still got goosebumps from that. Well, Dee, look, I know that some people will have seen you before, other people won't even know who you are, which is a travesty. Let's change that. Dee, could you tell everyone at One Drop, who are you, what do you do, and why do you love doing it so much?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So hi, I'm Deenita, better known as Dee by all my friends. That's kind of what I'm known as throughout. I think it just basically turns into a D Fest. And I help business owners, entrepreneurs and experts grow and elevate their personal brand so that they can be recognized as the expert that they are in. Predominantly through LinkedIn, but actually looking at really how you can attract more opportunities, more business, more interviews, more speaking gigs, really get out there because you have a passion for what you do. And that's actually why I do it, because I know what it took for me to actually shine a light on me, put a spotlight on me and put myself into that kind of circle where I knew that I needed to get out there and be visible instead of waiting to be perfect and waiting for all the ducks to be in a row. And so many people missed out on getting the impact and the amazing advice that I could give them. So I want to make sure that I'm passionate about making people who are, who let their fears and their blocks hold them back from being visible so that they can let others see their geniusness and basically have an impact in the world.
Oh, I love it. And I mean, you've done that through LinkedIn. You actually had a recruitment business and you built that recruitment business using LinkedIn. And so you became a fast mover in the LinkedIn world. Then people started asking you, how are you doing that? And actually your LinkedIn business then overtook your recruitment business. And then you really moved into really like brand amplification, which is what you're starting to focus on now. So Dee, what would you suggest for people that are going into that perfectionist mode? Right, okay, give us a hashtag perfectionist if you are a perfectionist. I know that I've suffered from it in the past and it does keep biting me on the arse sometimes. Dee, how do you get around it? What would your advice be?
So let me just take you back to a little story very quickly, and that is and actually Sammy was sat right next to me, and I shared this story recently actually in another group. And I was talking about how I was asked to do a presentation that was going to then be critiqued by all of our mentor, and literally Sammy turned around and she said to me, "Who the hell is that? Like, where has Dee gone? Because that is not Dee on the video." And it was this very monotonous individual who was trying to be perfect and trying to be something that she wasn't. And it all kind of changed for me actually when I was writing my first book. And I had this book that I was meant to write in 10 weeks, 10 chapters in 10 weeks. That was the aim. About 18 months later, I'd gone 6 chapters in, kept revisiting the chapters, rewriting them, and a really good friend of mine said, right, she got a video out and she filmed me. And she said, first of all, what is the date that you want to get the book done by? And what's the forfeit if you don't? And I had to actually say that on video, which she then posted on social media. So that sense of accountability, you know, you talked about integrity. Ruth talked about integrity earlier on. And that feeling of, oh my God, now that it's out there, I have to do it. You know, I can't not do it. So I got the book out there. It went into editing, and then eventually it got to number one. It was an Amazon number one bestseller. And it was just like, my God, what have I been waiting for? Like, why? Why am I trying to be perfect? When actually, out there, people don't want perfection. What they want is somebody real, somebody who's down to earth, somebody that they can connect with. That's what they want. And I realized soon after that there were so many things that I'd been holding back on because of this need to be perfect, that it was kind of a bit of a changing point for me.
Yeah, I completely resonate with that, because I was talking to somebody today actually about my very first online course, and how, like, for 2 years I was talking about it, for 2 years I was planning it, for 2 years I was doing stuff with it. And you know, it took me getting my first client saying to me, I haven't got 20 grand to work with you, can you tell me how I can do it myself? And that was really the light bulb moment of me saying, well, yeah, actually I can. And what I designed for him was not what I'd been creating for the last 2 years, because by the time I actually got to the point where I was almost ready to launch it, almost, hashtag perfectionist, it was bloody irrelevant by that point. So, you know, we have to take action on it, and actually having somebody to design it for is what got my bottom off the seat. So Dee, what would you suggest then to our ripple makers who have got that little bit of perfection going on?
So it was really interesting actually, because I was doing a room on Clubhouse recently, and somebody had captured a quote or an impact line that I had said, and she captured it and she put it into a little quote box and started spreading it across all the socials. And it said that the longer you wait to show up, and the longer you wait to be visible and share your knowledge, know-how and wisdom, the longer it will take for you to have an impact on the world. Which means that the longer it's going to take for somebody's life to be changed. Because if you truly believe in whatever it is that you're doing, you know, it doesn't always have to be, you know, sort of therapeutical and coaching and mentoring, but whatever you are doing, you are solving a problem for somebody. Whether that be your words, your message, your wisdom, or whether it be a service that you offer. So the longer you wait to get out there, the longer people will know you exist. And then the worst part of that is that those people, because they're looking for you, they're going to somebody else who isn't you. And that person may not even be as ethical as you. They may not have the same integrity. They may not have the best product or service, but that's the only place that they can find what they need. So, you know, really it's all about letting go of perfection and actually doing things with passion. So, just replace one P with another. Do things with passion, not with perfection, because nobody wants perfection anyway.
Yeah, that's such an important point. Well, Dee, on your journey, obviously you took the long route and I took the long route in many ways. If they could do just one thing, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to call these guys out? Are you going to get them to do what you were advised to do? Get it out there, own it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what it
Declaration.
is. I think first of all, I think what everybody could do who's watching is put a video out in this group after we finish. Put a video out in this group and just commit to one thing that you will do consistently to show up, to be visible. So, you know, I help my clients specifically get visible online so that they can attract more opportunities to speak, more opportunities to get out there, be an expert, all of those things. So what one thing are you going to do? Because if you're not in the digital world, then you need to be. Even if it's just choosing one platform for now and being able to get out there, but choose one platform. You have to be visible, and it's not as complicated as it seems. So just as soon as this interview is over, or when Sammy ends this, just put a video out in the Ripple in the One Movement group and ensure that you commit to one thing, and put a timeline on it, put a date on it, so that you can be held accountable. And that was one of the things I learned, was about accountability, which is why I then immersed, you know, accountability into all of my services. Like, you know, if you work with me, there is an accountability element to it, which means that I don't let you off the hook.
Oh, no
So
one.
I had some great mentors. We all have, haven't we? Yeah, and we've all had great mentors, haven't we? That have really like made us like pull our socks up and asked us. So I can't turn up. You know, I still have coaches and mentors I work with. You know, me and Sammy share a mentor, and every time we turn up, I cannot say I haven't done what I said I was going to do, because I will be called out on it.
Yeah, that's a key piece. I love that, guys. You've hashtag challenge. Remember, hashtag 1 year, no fear. Go for it, right? You've got nothing to. This is probably the safest, most loving, compassionate group that you could make that declaration in. But with love and compassion, we will kick you up the bottom if you do not do what you say you're going to do. Dee, if people want to reach out and get in touch with you, how do they connect?
So obviously they can connect with me on LinkedIn. I am also on Facebook. So I'm in the One Movement, One Drop group.
Movement group.
So yeah, just connect with me. Reach out. You can reach out in the messages, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. And Dee is also a member of this community, so if you want to go up to the members tab at the top of the One Drop Movement Facebook group, you can also connect with Dee very easily there. Dee, I love you. Thank you so much for dropping in to One Drop today.
Loved it. I did have a little exercise for everybody as well.
Oh, go on, go for it. So, you want to give an exercise?
So let's whiz through this. So it's 10 questions, and all I want you to do is you've got to answer them between 0 and 10, and that will show you how prominent you are as a personal brand at the moment and showing up in visibility, and so you know where there's work to be done. Ooh. So question 1, do you post content consistently online? And what I mean by consistently is at least 2 to 3 times a week. Okay,
are you posting content?
You're on the 10. If you don't, then you're closer to the 0. So you
get it in the comments.
0 and 10, what that is. So 3 times a week, do you post content consistently? Scale of 1 to 10. Question number 2. Do your prospects or your ideal clients, do they know from seeing you on your socials, from seeing you out there, do you know do they know the one thing that you're known for?
Oh, come on, guys. All of you that are in the RippleMakers mastermind, like, your fame name should be that brand promise. It should say it all. So
yeah. On a scale of 0 to 10, how well do your prospects know exactly what you do, the one thing that you do? Okay. Question number 3, do you do video content? So if you do it ad hoc sometimes, then you're closer to 0 to 5. If you do it consistently, maybe between 5 and 10. Question number 4, are your values, Sammy's going to love that, are your values expressed in your content marketing?
Ooh, I like that one. Okay.
Question number 5, do you have omnipresence? As in, are you on more than one platform? You know, can people find you easily depending on where you're showing? So do you have an omnipresence, that you give the illusion that you are in more than one place, that you're everywhere?
A scale of 0 to 10, guys.
Yeah, scale of 0 to 10.
How would you mark yourself?
Next question. Do your followers or your audience know what services you offer? So do they know what to come to you for? Okay. I've lost count of the number of what number we're on. I know I've got 10 questions. The next question is, do you engage with your followers or your connections or your audience or your prospects' content? So do you comment? Do you like? Do you engage with them? Do you send them a DM? Do you engage with them?
Interesting, because we can tend to be so concentrated on what we're posting that we're not actually going and engaging on other people's posts. That's a really good one.
And it's really interesting what you and Ruth were talking about earlier on, about the fact that we can't be worried about how many people are engaging on ours. We have to be worried about the value and the impact that we're having through our content, and not worry about the vanity metrics. So yeah, I think there's 3 more questions. Next, so we're on question 8. Do you get invited to speak or comment as an expert by people who are seeing your content? So do you get invited to be on podcasts? Do you get invited to maybe go to speaking gigs, virtual summits? Do you get invited to just add your opinion on things?
So I love this, because the question is, do you get invited? It's not do you go out and ask people, can I speak on your thing? It's like, how much are you getting invited on a scale of 0 to 10? Are you pursuing them, or are they pursuing you?
Question number 9. Do you stay true to your opinions, your thoughts and your beliefs, and freely express yourself? So do you have that authenticity? Are you fearless when wanting to share your opinions, especially if they're different to somebody else's? Or do you hold back? Do you hold back because you don't want to be seen as, oh, I don't want to get any conflict, I don't want to get somebody disagreeing with me? If you're more along the, oh, I don't want to get disagreement, I don't want people saying, suddenly commenting me or trolling me, do you then hold back? Or do you, because you have massive belief in what you believe in, and massive thoughts and opinions and evidence around what you believe in, trust in your own thoughts, do you go out there and share those thoughts? So 0 to 10. And then finally, so the question that I've just asked is almost like, do you feel like an imposter? Do you let imposter syndrome get in the way, or do you go out there and stand out? That's kind of where we're going.
That's a really good question.
And then the final question is, do you create sales from from showing your personal brand, from showing up, from being visible? Do you get business? Do you attract business and sales?
Yeah. So on a scale of 0 to 10, do you find it really hard, or you're not getting any sales through your social media and your publicity, or are you getting all your business through it?
Yeah. Because what happens is and it doesn't even have to be all your business, but the fact is that if your personal brand is, and the marketing and the messaging is right, then people aren't confused, because confused minds don't buy. So if you are getting business from that without you having to go out there and go buy my stuff all the time, but you're actually, and send spammy sales messages, but your people are approaching you because they're going, oh my God, like Ruth, I know this is what you do. And I know that you are the life liberator, and I would love to work with you because I'm going through this. Are they doing that? Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever the score is the percentage.
Dang, dang, dang.
Because obviously there's 10 questions and it's out of 10. So it'd be interesting to see what the score was.
Yeah. What are your scores, guys? Get them into the comments. I can see that they've been scoring themselves as we go through. And if you're watching the replay, still continue to score yourself. Dee, based on their answers to this, what would your suggestion be?
So look at the areas that you need to improve on, and that will help you create that one video now, right? The one accountability. So look at the bits that you need improving on, and just choose one, because sometimes we overwhelm ourselves and go, oh my God, we aren't doing any of these things. So take it from, whatever one that you feel that, okay, this is a bit that I need to improve more on. Let me do that. So then you can actually choose you can actually do that video that Sammy and I told you to do in the group, and say, right, this is what I'm going to do more of. So for example, if you know that you have to look at, maybe the values aren't enough on your, aren't expressed enough, or they're not coming through in your content, revisit, everything that Sammy teaches you around your values. What are they? And how can your messaging be? What kind of content can you create that really shows what you value, what your values are, what kind of people you want to work with? Because then you'll attract people who have the same values, and you'll repel people who don't, which
Yes,
is great.
that's what we're looking for. We're wanting to do that. It's really segmenting that. Dee, I'm so excited about what you're doing here, and I want to continue on this, but we've run out of time. Dee,
I've gone over now, haven't I?
so much. Thank you. So no, we're all good. We're still on time. Thank you so much for the energy that you put into creating that questionnaire for us, so that we could start to measure the areas where we have gaps. Because it's like when you get on the tube in London, mind the gap. You got to know what the gap is, right? If you know the gap, then you can do something about it. One of our ambassadors of the Brand Builders Club, Jose, she used to say, if you're aware of it, you can take care of it. Guys and girls, give it up for the amazing Deenita Pattni. Dee, how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, like I said, LinkedIn. You can find me on that, Deenita, Deenita. Or I am in the movement. I'm in this group. I keep calling the movement group.
The movement. Another movement group.
I'm in this group, so you can absolutely reach out to Facebook at all if you need
awesome
anything.
Thank you. All right,
thank you for having us.
Oh, it has been an absolute pleasure and an honor as always. Guys and girls, give it up for Dee. What was your big lesson that you just learned from our amazing Deenita Pattni? We are moving on. My goodness, this is like a steam train, let alone a RippleFest. Everybody get on board. Choo choo, we're on our way. We are bringing on the amazing Siobhan Riordan, who is very dear to my heart. She has made a global freaking difference. There is so much depth to this lady, and like when you have that little bit of starstruckness thing, right? I'm going to meet Siobhan for the first time next week, and I could not be more excited about it. She's my Shiro, and I'm so delighted that she's going to come and join us tonight to be on this global screen as our grand finale speaker at our August 22 RippleFest Quest. So lovely, Siobhan, come on up and join us. Give it up, guys and girls, for the amazing Siobhan Riordan. Siobhan,
Sammy, an absolute joy to be with you and to hear Ruth as well, and Dee. And Dee, I think I only got to about 64%. I've got some real gaps, and thank you so much for that. And Ruth, thank you so much for your little exercise as well. Toot, 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 toot.
Siobhan, for those that don't know you in the community, because you were very prominent for a long time within the Ripple Makers community, you may well get to sharing why you haven't been so visible in the community recently, but you've made such a massive impact on all the lives that you've touched. You've got so much experience. Please share with those that haven't had a chance to meet you yet who you are and what you love doing.
Thank you. Well, the fame name that you've given me is the Facilitation Mentor. And I specialize in facilitation now because it kind of brings together over 30 years experience of working in academia, working in vocational qualifications, and working out in communities, and especially working with women. I led development of the first postgraduate program in women's leadership in the UK. And I also created the first Bachelor of Arts in Social Enterprise in the world back in 2000. Yes, so I've been running groups and women's leadership circles, sacred circles for women. I spent 10 years training police officers. And I bring all of that experience together in what I call the learning community model. And that's what I am a passionate advocate of. It's a developmental educational experience that will take any group, will enable any group to connect, collaborate and create together. I'm sharing my the knowledge and the tips and the skills that I've picked up over the decades in very different environments through my courses. And I also run a one-to-one kind of coaching service, Solutions, working from the soul to find the solutions that we want in life.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, I was thrilled to just take part on Siobhan's recent Facilitators Path program. For those of you that I was missing on a Friday every week for 5 weeks, that's where I was. I was with Siobhan. And honestly, if any of you have not been through Siobhan's program and you are building a group or you're growing a community, you need to go on this, because there were things that I mean, I've done a lot of personal development. I've done a lot of training, invested hundreds of thousands in myself over the years. And I would say this course was one of the most valuable things that I did to support me with working from the inside out, because everything else I've done was about the outside in. And this was just a really amazing course, a 5-week program that really enabled me to go inside and look at myself and how I am leading and how I am supporting other people to learn. So your community that you've built yourself, and the way that you train other people with their communities, what is like the biggest mistake you see a lot of people making when they're growing their groups?
They think they have to have all the answers. And it's back to that thing of perfection, isn't it, that we were talking about earlier, and the perfectionists. They think that they have to have all the answers. And we have this very patriarchal model of education. You know, you look at the academic world that I was part of for 25 years, you have the all-knowing expert up in their ivory tower, doing 220 PowerPoint slides in a lecture, and you know, just dumping information. And one of the things that I do is I turn that whole thing on its head, where the student becomes the teacher, and very much working, drawing on the wisdom of the divine feminine. And you know, that's kind of where I learned a lot of those skills and those tips and that you're talking about that had an impact. And it was very much about drawing on the divine feminine, although I don't use that expression very often, but this is a place where we can kind of talk about that. And yeah, it's an inner journey and an inner path. I spoke for too long then. I'll shut up. You're questioning, so sorry.
No, you're welcome. I mean, the thing is, like, you're so passionate about what you do, and I can see Donna Riley is here. She's like, her programs are a must. We've had ripple makers that have gone through your programs and come out and dramatically transformed the way that they teach, the way that they educate, and the way that they interact with people, and the way, if you're delivering training, and all of us here, I think, are delivering training, it's about delivering that training in a certain way. And I don't want to give your magic ingredient away. They need to come onto your Facilitators Path course to learn that. Siobhan, do you have an activity or something with us that can help us this evening to really harness the power of our groups and communities?
Sammy, yeah, we'll have to do it through the comments.
Okay, fabulous.
So one of the tools I use a lot is the one word evaluation. And let's get some feedback for you, Sammy, here. So in the comments, I'd like you all to sum up in one word what one drop movement means to you.
Oh, wow.
In one word.
Wow. Gosh, I didn't know you were going to do that.
Neither did I. So these written: impact, beautiful word, consistency. Yeah.
Donna has put support. We've got comments that are coming in via Zoom, and we've got comments that are coming in on Facebook.
On Facebook, I know. I just am saying it. I love that word, Cheryl Guidry. Hope. Yes, I think One Drop Movement is an amazing place to come and find hope and find collaboration and companionship on your journey, because it can be a really lonely journey running your own business.
Wow, I'm loving these words. Thank you, guys.
So there's just like one simple tool there that we applied in the particular context, the particular situation that we're in, and look at the amount of information it's generating. Sammy, you've got to keep a record of this. Some of these words that I would nab. But yeah, but there's just some of these little simple techniques that I teach that you can just draw on when you're completely unprepared like I was, and you think, oh fuck, what am I meant to do?
And look how gracefully you navigated it. It shows you're a fucking master at this, right? That's why you're my mentor.
Yeah.
There's something else that you spoke about in one of our sessions as well. Obviously, I don't want to go too much into that because they need to go through it to get the real context of it. But you talk about the waterline, and that was really impactful on me. That made a huge impact on me. Would you just elaborate a tiny bit?
No, I won't, because it's one of, I tell you, no, really, I hope that you, because it's such an important, it's the climax. It's where we kind of come, that moment, isn't it, on the call? And I am a trained psychosexual therapist, by the way, as well. So a lot of my references, we even do the sexual response cycle of development when I'm working, especially with police officers. But that's another side.
That's an interesting topic for another time.
And I don't want to share it with you because it is such an important part of the journey. But you're right, and it is one of the most powerful teachings that I've ever had. And I got it in 1992. And I've carried these teachings with me ever since. And the person who gave them to me has died. They're on 6 really badly typed A4 sheets, and that's 30 years that I've been carrying this. But you're right to pick up on that. It is the absolute heart of what I teach in the facilitators part. So hopefully we've tickled.
Yes, tickled your fancy a little bit. Well, you know, look, you're here and we're here. Siobhan, if anybody does want to go through that program with you, which I wholeheartedly recommend, this is like a non-negotiable thing for any of you that are growing a group. Forget sales, forget all those other things, because if you're not looking after the people that you're working with, and if they're not learning in the right way from you, or you might be over teaching, you might be over delivering, you could be under delivering, how would you even know? And that's a big question that a lot of Ripple makers ask me when I'm creating content for courses. How much should I include? What should I include? How should I include that? And your facilitation course actually answers all of those questions. So guys, if you are not booked already onto one of Siobhan's facilitators path courses, Siobhan, how can they reach out to you and make that happen?
I do have one coming up in September. I think beginning the 14th of September, and runs for 5 weeks. 5 modules.
It's on a Friday, isn't it? It's 2.5 hours.
Friday afternoon, UK time, BST time.
Yeah.
And morning time for the States and Canada.
Well, we had Canada on my group.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a really lovely group having.
They are, but by doing it online, you make it global, of course, and that's the wonderful thing. So it's learningcommunitiesnetwork.com. Yeah. Really simple.
If someone could type that into the comments for us so that everyone can capture
like Dee and Ruth, I'm in the One Movement group, Facebook group. Just tag me and you'll find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. Those are my 2, Dee, just Facebook and just LinkedIn. But I am going to start doing some reels if I can find someone who can film me. I'm in reels.
Very good, very good. Well, make sure you're dressed and I can film some reels when I'm there next week. We'll do that.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Guys and girls, Siobhan has been through a heck of a health journey herself and knows the importance of making sure that every drop of difference you make is potent, is connected, and is making a freaking difference. It's saying, I was here, and while I was here, I made that ripple of impact. Siobhan, is there anything you want to leave our amazing?
There is, thank you. I just realized what I forgot to say earlier. you know, it's women that tend to be drawn to my courses. I do have men as well, and it's lovely when we have them, but it's predominantly women. And one of the things that, and it's kind of linked back to Dee and very much Ruth, what Ruth was saying, I will help you find your voice. I have banned sorry in all of my workshops. Women begin by apologizing for speaking. And it's such a part of our culture now, we don't even recognize it. And if there's one thing that we need at this moment in history, we need women to start stepping up. And the world will become a better place for it, I've no doubt, and together with men. Yeah. So yeah, come find your voice. If you ain't got the confidence, I'll beat it out of you.
Virtually.
Virtually, yeah.
Virtually beat it out of you. And I got some beatings on that.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that's the thing is, like, you know, we don't go there for affirmation. We don't go there for you to tell us how lovely we are and for you to buff our ego. We go there because we want to improve. We want to be the best that we can for our communities and for our groups. And it's one thing to present, but it's another to teach. And when you're teaching, there is definitely a way to do it, and you are the master of it. So Siobhan, thank you for coming and dropping in with us at One Drop Movement for RippleFest today. You've been a big part of my journey and will continue to be. Guys, I hope that you invite Siobhan on your journey as well, as so many of our ripple makers have done. Siobhan, thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful to be with you all, and to all of my One Drop fellows out there, I embrace you buxomly.
I'm looking forward to a buxom moment next week. Guys and girls, has this been a great session for you? If it has, share your light bulbs. What's your light bulb? What are your learnings? What did you find as a gap? Where was the gap? Where is that gap? What's the one thing you're going to do? You're going to get accountable. What are you doing too much of? How are you really leading your groups as a global family? Because, you know, you put one message out, you're a global business. You're not just doing business with the person on your doorstep anymore. You only need to share one post, you're already global. So start thinking of yourself that way. I am so honored that you came and spent your time with us. If you know any other entrepreneurs you think they should be in this group, they should be here learning and mastering these amazing things that we're doing. We've still got another 2 days of RippleFest to go. So we'll be back live, same time, same place in this group tomorrow. And let me tell you who we've got tomorrow. We have the amazing Dagmar Bryant, who's going to do a session on Step Up, Rise Up, Wise Up and Shine. That's followed with the amazing Phil Horrod, who's talking about break through your burnout patterns to build a better business. I'm looking forward to that one because, you know, as a lot of you know, burnout was a massive part of my journey. And we're going to have that grand finale with beautiful spiritual teacher and healer Anne Varney, which is all about getting into your heart space. So come back, join us, same time, same place. I'm committed to finishing on time. Otherwise, Siobhan will kick my ass when I see her next week. Have an amazing evening, a great day, and go out there and make those ripples that only you can make. Sending you lots and lots of love, and I'll see you tomorrow. Mwah. See you there.